So the question is, did I make the right choice? So choosing the right surgery in a patient with glaucoma, we have an armamentarium of various options available to us, as we have an armamentarium of IOLs available for a cataract surgeon. So we have trabeculectomy to tube shunts to microinvasive or minimally invasive glaucoma surgeries and satellite-destructive procedures. But we should be choosing the surgery which is ideal for a person, as in is ideal for that particular person of patient of glaucoma. So when do we normally plan a surgical intervention? It is when the medical and the laser intervention has failed, or the patient is non-compliant to medications, or is he having serious drug side effects, the cost has become an issue for him, and the target IOP is not being achieved. And sometimes as a primary treatment also, it could be offered to some patients who do not want to use drugs. Remember, for each patient, we have to do a risk and benefit analysis on a case-to-case basis, considering his structural and functional integrity of his glaucomatous damage and the progression of his glaucomatous optic neuropathy. So primary goal of any surgery in glaucoma is having minimal complications with a good term, long-term intraocular pressure control, reaching the target IOP and avoidance of visual impairment. So factors which are to be taken into consideration when we have to plan out a surgery are certain objective criteria and certain subjective criteria. So what are the objective criteria? These are the type of glaucoma the patient has, whether it is a primary surgery or a repeat surgery, what is the status of his conjunctiva, is it a touched conjunctiva or a late conjunctiva, or is it already a scarred conjunctiva? Are we planning a combined cataract surgery in the patient? What is the risk of complication of each type of surgery for that patient? What is the risk of progression depending on his target IOP which we are aiming? While the subjective factors are, what is the surgeon's own comfort level in doing a particular type of surgery? What is the age and the life expectancy of the patient? What is the visual prognosis of the patient? What is his quality of life has to be taken into account. And all these things need to be discussed with the patient. So an ideal glaucoma procedure should be one which is fast, easy, with a low cost, repeatable, and with less complications, giving us intraocular pressure control, which is predictable and reproducible, and with the least of circadian variations, with no need of adjunctive medications, and a long-term success. So why is it so difficult to make a decision in this regard? This is because glaucoma surgery is not as straightforward as a cataract surgery. Even when surgery goes well, the post-operative period is fraught with complications and patient complaints. Patient may come up and say he's not seeing better, he's seeing worse. Transient vision loss is common. Patients may be uncomfortable after the surgery. Their eyes may be irritated, they may be having redness. Patients also do not understand the need for surgery, provided in most of the cases, as we know in glaucoma, it is an asymptomatic loss of visual fields. Also, the risk of surgery, depending on the type of surgery which we have chosen, are pretty high, especially vision-threatening complications, which may necessitate us to take trips back to the operating room. Trabeculectomy is the first surgery which is the gold standard for glaucoma, with a high success rate, a better control on diurnal variation, and recently the modifications have improved our results of trabeculectomies. Using the COS technique, which are all these modifications which have been suggested by COS from Moofield's safe surgery technique, it has been seen that the primary trabeculectomy achieves an IOP of almost less than 18 millimeters of mercury in about 90% of the eyes, and with infrequent post-op complications. But the conflict which arises is, should we be using any antifibrotics, antimetabolites, and should we be doing a trabeculectomy alone or with a cataract surgery? As we all know, the main cause of failure of a trabeculectomy is a fibroblastic proliferation causing subconjunctival and episcleral fibrosis. So the modifications have been done so as to prevent this scarring, and these could be antimetabolites, amniotic membrane transplantations, or use of collagen implants. Various studies have shown that the failure rate of trabeculectomy reduces dramatically when we are using antifibrotic agents, which could be mitomycin C or 5-FU. And amongst the two, it has been seen that mitomycin C is more commonly used as an adjunct because of its superiority over 5-FU. And how do we assess in which patients we need to use? So based on the assessment of the risk factors, which are the patient factors and the ocular factors, and based on the risk of post-operative infection, based again upon the patient and the systemic risk factors and the ocular risk factors, we have classified the patients as low risk, intermediate risk, and high risk for the use of antifibrotic agents. And those with the high risk, we will prefer to use a higher concentration of mitomycin C and a higher intraoperative time for the use of mitomycin C. Based again on the risk of infection, we may consider avoiding use of antimalarials in high-risk groups, which are at the high risk of developing infections, especially those who are immunocompromised. Again, even with the use of antimalarials, we may land up with these problems. These are the woes of antimalarials: overhanging, overweeping, filtering blood. So other modifications were suggested and are being used. These are the use of amniotic membrane augmented trabeculectomy, which uses the properties of amniotic membrane as an anti-fibrogenic agent. And there are various studies which have shown that AMT augmented trabeculectomies not only increases the probability of diffusely elevated blood, but it with a low vascularity, and also it keeps the overlying conjunctiva healthier with fewer post-op interventions and lesser time taken for the surgery. So it can be routinely incorporated in your routine surgical steps. It is easily available as a dried AMT, and so it can be used either as a primary procedure or as an additive with mitomycin C, with either in the subconjunctival or in the subciliation with the anchoring sutures. Another substance which is being used is the Ologen, which are the collagen implants, which are biodegradable. And again, there are multiple meta-analyses and systematic reviews which have shown that the efficacy is similar to that of the MMCs. And however, it does not offer any significant advantages as compared to MMC. Then we also had this express shunt, but the use of express shunt is not in vogue because of its cost factor and also because of the paucity of high quality studies with it. Then we have the tube shunts, which are again a common surgical alternative used in various complicated glaucomas. Which valve to use? Again, various studies have used Ahmed valve or Wehrwelt valve. And now the choice will depend upon whether we want an immediate IOP control in the immediate post-operative period, or we can delay the IOP control. But what after a failed trabeculectomy? So what should we be doing? Another similar surgery or a different surgery? The TVT study said that there's a much higher success rate with a tube shunt. It also said that the probability of failure was less, and the incidence of post-op complications was also less as compared to TAV with MMCs. So if my primary choice is a trabeculectomy, my second choice would be a trabeculectomy in an uncomplicated case and maybe bleb revisions if required. But if my retrap fails, then I'll have no choice but to go to the tubes. Although doing it as a primary tube surgery, the decision is that it is like a dead end, because compared to trabeculectomy, particularly if I'm doing it in younger patients who requires a sequence of operations over the lifespan, doing a repeat tube may not be as easy. In combination with cataract, these are just 2-3 slides more on cataract. So whether we do need to do a cataract surgery alone, it has been seen in studies that cataract surgery alone in early cases may reduce the IOP by 2 to 4 meters of mercury. However, it is being used more commonly with mix as a procedure, as a cataract plus procedure, where we're combining with canaloplasty, trabectomes, and eye stents, piggybacked on phacoemulsifications. And although the success of the combined surgery is usually not as favorable as filtration surgery alone, it can also be combined with trabeculectomies in the cases where the IOP target is not in the low teens or in the single digit. And then the last work on cyclodestructive procedures, where we are now using MicroPrus transcranial cyclopodulation has come up in the market, where it is being used in refractive glaucomas as an alternative to surgeries in elderly patients who are not keen on surgeries, who have poor compliance, and who have a poor tolerance to medications. So again, multiple reports are there which are showing that the mean IOP decrease with MicroPulse cyclopodulation is pretty good, and it can be used as a procedure before resorting to other methods in normal circumstances as well. Thank you.